we're trying to like get our money up and record demos and stuff. And he was in a completely different group called Hit MCs. So in order for us to make it work and have enough money to get our demos and do the shows that we wanted to do at the time, we sort of had to pool our dollars as well as pool the groups. So he became a part of our group, and that's when it really became the Boogie Monsters or Boogie Monsters. Yeah.
Right. Can you take us back to some of the dues that you guys got paid or that you had to pay to get noticed?
Oh man. Well, one of the dues I paid like before I even met the guys is I just had to read stuff. Like I had to read books about the industry, about publishing and, you know, being a songwriter, being a producer, whose responsibilities were what, how to record, you know, recording from home, studio engineering back then, which was pretty primitive. It's not like now where you could just plug in a laptop and use plugins to create something like really professional. So that was one of the dues. And then it was just like, you know, sacrificing classes sometimes to rehearse. We would skip, you know, classes during college to go into like the auditorium and practice. You know, we sort of sacrificed our grades. Like, yeah, I'm probably gonna get a C in this class, but you know, I'm planning to do something else with my life besides what, you know, I'm training in school to be. So, you know, we were doing some risk taking there. There was a lot of times we would have to crash with people. You know what I mean? Leave where we were staying, our residence, and then we might go, you know, down the coast of Virginia to go to the studio at Virginia Beach or something like that. So we might have to literally crash or sleep in the car. We slept in the car to perform at Howard one of the years we were at school, and it ended up paying off for us because we won this huge show at the hip hop conference or whatever, and that sort of propelled us to put more money into our demos, which eventually led to us going back to New York and getting signed. So yeah, those are some of the sacrifices, just kind of taking every dollar that you had, every extra piece of time. When people were out partying, we'd be in the little dorm room, like with the drum machines and the samplers, like trying to get these ideas recorded in some sort of way where we could take it and make it cohesive and show people like, yeah, this is Boogie Monsters, this is our sound. It's not perfect and it sounds, you know, it's not mixed perfectly, but this is what we want to do. So a lot of the times it was just time, money, attention span, and sometimes spending time with family. You know, there's a big sacrifice there when you're trying to get in the industry where you might miss family functions. You might be in New York and your family's in Virginia. Like me, I sort of had to just take an exit when I turned 18 and go up top and really shop for a deal. So those are some of the sacrifices. Yeah.
Gotcha. When all you guys eventually formed the group, what kind of discussions did you guys have as far as the direction that you wanted Boogie Monsters to go?
Creatively, I would say I had already given us some direction, you know. Since Al and Sean or Yoda and Montrick, they weren't rhyming initially. It sort of all sourced out from my original ideas. The way I build ideas a lot of times comes from either a theme or a song title. Because for me, when I was digging through my father's records or I'm in a record store, a lot of times it's the art and the title that would attract me to certain songs that I would want to loop or play, or think about blowing out and using a part of for a beat or something like that. So you might see SOS band, flip it over and see the Sands of Time, and then you play the Sands of Time and you're like, whoa, I didn't never think the title would have me here, you know, destination wise when I listened to it, you know what I mean? And then they had some weird synths and they had this and they had that and it was rocking. So titles were a big thing for me. You might have a really compelling title and the challenge is to fulfill that title, you know? So for example, you might have Old Man Jacob's Well and you have an idea of what it might be about, but then you have to flesh it out and say, okay, well, who is Old Man Jacobs? What is his role in society, in the world? What's his direction? You know, what's positive about this person? What's negative about this person? And that becomes a verse. In other instances, it might be a song. You know, Isley Brothers' Voyage to Atlantis inspired, you know, a lot of the elements of Old Man Jacob's Well. And it was originally the sample that was behind the song, but we couldn't afford it to clear it when it came out. So they had to sort of play around it. You know, we had to go in and build around that sample and take it out. So, yeah, a lot of times it might be something sonically that you hear that you derive an emotion from, and then you go from there. Sometimes it might be a song title. maybe it's just a story in your head, and then you're trying to make it rhyme and create a song out of it, even though it's just a story about an experience that you either witnessed or something from your imagination. And that pretty much set the pace. Once we went into demo mode, we already had some of these songs sort of mapped out. The Buzz, Old Man Jacob's Well. We had a song called I Like It, which is sort of the barge fusion. And originally we were really heavily sampled group. Like, you know, we wanted to produce ourselves, which didn't really happen in the end game, but you know, that was our thing, was taking these old classic soul samples and using that as sort of the back mask for what we were doing vocally. And yeah, it's just kind of like a combination of those things that creates whatever it was we got in the end. And I would just say it started out from some of those original ideas. The Mark of the Beast, now that I think about it, I wrote in college, and I actually had it on demo, and we played it for people, and they were like, this song is going places. When are you guys getting signed? It wasn't if we were getting signed. It's like, when are you getting signed? And when you get signed, make sure that song's on your album. You know what I mean? So some ideas you carry around for like 3 or 4 years, and you don't do anything with it until the time comes. God says, okay, now it's time for you to, you know, strike the hammer and turn this into what it's supposed to be. So it's a whole bunch of things. I guess it's multidimensional where the songs or where the ideas come from. But all in all, it's all, I would say, divine inspiration. You know, some things, sometimes you go back and play things and it's just like, wow, that's a lightning bolt. Like God sent me a lightning bolt and it struck for a time and I did it. But as far as my soul and who I am now being connected to exactly how it was crafted, it had to be God. It had to be in some instances. He just spoke through me rather than me choosing the words or me choosing how the song would come out, you know, as its final product. Some of it was just him and his angels guiding what was being done. You know what I mean? Sending information, you know, sending people to say, do it this way, take it in this direction. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a bunch of that.
Right. Very dope. For our viewers, if you got any questions, be sure to let us know in the comments. Before you guys signed with Pendulum, did you shop your demo with other labels?
Good question. And it got interesting. I went to Def Jam when I was 14 years old. Like, that's how bad it had gotten at that age. I'm like, Pops, I want to be an MC. And the hip hop thing is the next big thing. I want to be a part of it. I want to be on the front end of that. It's like, you're 14 years old. How are you going to have a career at 14 years old in anything? You're 14 years old. You can't even work at the grocery store. I'm like, take me to where I need to go. He's like, where you need to go? I'm like, there's a place called Def Jam. Guy named Russell Simmons runs it, and Tim and dude Rick Rubin. And if you want to get on, everybody knows that's where you have to go. You know what I mean? So we were in Brooklyn at the time, which made it, you know, pretty easy. If I was in any other state, you probably been like, Sean, no, I'm not taking you anywhere. I know nothing about the music industry, which is what he was telling me at the time. Like, I don't think I can manage you. I don't know too much about that. You know, I'm an Army guy. So he took me. And they listened to me, you know. Russell wasn't there at the time, but one of his good friends, Kenny Lee, was there. So he took me down into the basement. They had a bunch of real machines, like pieces from a studio in the bottom of Def Jam. He's like, all right, let me hear you. You know what I mean? So him and my dad are sitting there hearing me rhyme. He's like, yo, you're good. You're good. You all right. But you're too young. We don't know what to do with you. You know what I mean? So I guess I might have been like special ed at the time to them. Like, where do we place you? How do we market you? How do we get to other kids your age to make this a product, you know, something commercial? So he's like, just keep at it. Come back when you're a little bit older, and you probably have a better chance of, one, you know, Russell hearing you, and two, you know, taking your stuff to another level. Because, you know, you got school and stuff. Get out of here. Get out of here. So I went and I just kept at it. That really pushed me. I'm like, yo, that means something. You know what I mean? Just keep at it. So I never forgot about Kenny Lee. You know what I mean? He inspired me to keep going. So once I met Al and Sean, we're in school. We do a show at State. We win. We go to Howard. Joe Jackson produces a show there. We win, or we get second or first place. We get some money. We record our demo. I'm like, let's go to Def Jam. I know exactly where it is. And it never moved from the time I was 14 to the time I was 18. I went, and there it was on Elizabeth Street. Bam. You know what I mean? So we sort of like broke our way into Def Jam. That was our initial shot. And Def Jam had prongs at the time. They had Violator, so Chris Lighty had his little section. You had Def Jam, which was the main, part of the hierarchy, and they were upstairs. Somebody else down here that was doing something else that was sort of Def Jam related, subsidiary or whatever, subsidiary. So we get to the desk, boom. Oh, where y'all going? Y'all one of the groups that signed? Nah, but we're gonna be. Who are y'all? The Boogie Monsters. Who are you? I'm Monster. There's some dude named Monster. Big dude, like he holds down the door. He like, yeah, you got a demo? I'm like, yeah, we got a demo. I read all the books, son. Bam. I got the demo and I've been here before when I was 14. I'm ready. You know what I mean? It's like, look at this trash can. Look over his desk. He has like a trash can full of demos. He's like, basically, I'm supposed to take your tape and put it over there. And eventually, people listen to those. It's not trash, but that's what you got to do at the end of that line right there. So he was like, yeah, I don't know, bro. I just got to kind of hang out and hope for the best. You know what I mean? So as we're there, we see Q-Tip go in. We see people coming out. We're like, we're right where we need to be. You know what I mean? This is where we need to be. So eventually we came back a few days because we couldn't go back to Virginia empty-handed now. So Monster's like, go. Don't tell nobody I'll let you in. Go ahead, run wild. You know what I mean? So we go in Chris Lighty's office. He plays it. He's like, it's good. It's kind of too much like the guys I've got. I've got Tribe in them. I've got Busta and Violet. I don't know. You know what I mean? He kind of passes. We go upstairs. We bust into an office. Run DMC's in the office in a meeting. It's running. It's DMC. I don't know if Jam Master Jay was there. I can't remember, but we're like, whoa, yo, what's up, fellas? Man, how y'all doing? We're the Boogie Monsters. Like, Brandon's like, who are y'all? Y'all, where y'all from? Like, well, we came up from Virginia, but we lived in New York and blah, 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 blah. We give them our bios. We give them a tape. Russell comes in. Hey, who are you guys? Did I sign you? No, but you're going to sign us. You know what I mean? Well, we about to have a meeting, so y'all got to get out. You know what I mean? Like, okay, just play a couple songs. You know what I mean? So they played a couple tracks. Like, you guys got something, you know what I mean? You got a lot of people over here right now, and you don't have an appointment. I need to have a meeting with my brother and DMC. Get out, but, maybe later, you know what I mean? So we're like, wow. So we go down the hallway. We meet someone named Francesca Sparrow. And she was running what's called Rush Producers Management. So Russell had basically created an enclave where producers could bring their demos in and just have beat tapes where someone in that area expertise could play the tapes and try to get them placements. So we meet Fran. She tells us what she does. She shows us some of the artists in her drawer. And at the time, it was like Neptunes, Large Professor, Easy Moby, like people who were just great now. You know what I mean? So we played her the demo. She's like, I like it. You know what I mean? You guys got something. What do you want from me? You know what I mean? Well, can you shop us around? So she shopped us around. I shopped some on my own as well. I ended up sitting across from who else but Diddy. Back in the day, he was opening Bad Boy, and I got my foot in the door. So I was an artist, and he needed a logo, so that was my foot in the door, was the logo. So I went and sat with someone, I think her name was Sybil at the time. She checked out the logo. She's like, yeah, do this and do that with it and bring it back to me. You never know. You might be the one that he picks, So as I'm leaving, and the other dudes is kind of running around the label, because it's a brand new label uptown or whatever. So I see Diddy, and Diddy sees me, and he hears me spitting. He's like, yo, you rhyme? I'm like, yeah, come in the office. Brings me in the office. You know what I mean? Puts the demo in, plays like 10 seconds of the first song. You know what I mean? Listens to the sample real good. He's just staring at me. And like one of his people sit next to him, staring at me. Bam. Next one. Bam. Next one. Bam. Like, real quick listens. You know what I mean? He heard all he needed to hear. Yeah, why y'all sound so much like Das Effect? Y'all sound kind of like Das Effect. So no, they went to our school. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like a style. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the way things flow. At Virginia State or whatever. So we kind of sound like them, I imagine, but we're on our own thing. You know what I mean? You can hear the samples and kind of hear where we're going with it. He's like, all right, well, maybe not. Gotta have a nice day, just like, maybe just not yes, not no. But he said he was looking for something a little more street. I remember him saying that. You know what I mean? All right, cool. Back at Howard, and who do I see across the yard? Sean Combs. He sees me. he comes up to me and shakes my hand and pounds me because he remembered that time I sat in his office. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. He was huge at that point. He really didn't have to acknowledge me. You know what I mean? Like, wow, it's crazy how people remember people in this business. You know what I mean? So that was the one I shopped it to. I think someone at Atlantic heard, listened to it. At one point, there was sort of like a tug of war between Pendulum and Def Jam. Leor got wind of what was going on. He's like, oh, yeah, maybe I'll sign you guys then. He just kind of like, I guess, maybe throwing his weight around. I don't know if he really talked to Russell and they really wanted to sign us, but there was some talks of us kind of moving over there for a hot second. But we ended up, over at Pendulum. And one of the reasons was Diggable Planets, a group I really respect. Similar vibes, real positive, doing something conscious with the music. That's probably a good place, a good home for us, So at the time they had Diggable Planets and Lords of the Underground. I think we were the third group, and then they signed someone called Dream Warriors after us. And soon after they ended up having to close. So that basically ended the Riders of the Storm era, right there. But yeah, we shopped around to a few labels. Yeah.